Ready? Good morning, party members, fellow members of the legislature, and family. I'm incredibly excited to introduce our candidates for constituency number 7, Hamilton South, and constituency number 8, Smith South. This election is about leadership, and which leader and team Bermudians prefer to lead our country through these tough times. We are offering a team from all walks of life. We have entrepreneurs, lawyers, accountants, educators, and finance professionals among our ranks. But we also have tradesmen and women, union organizers, community organizers, taxi drivers, and hospitality workers. The leadership that we offer is connected to the community and has a heart for the people. I think it's important that we judge leaders by their record in office. And fortunately, Bermudians have had the opportunity to see both myself and the opposition leader perform as Premier of Bermuda. Bermudians remember what happened during their tenure. During our tenure, we made steady progress on our platform, and we kept our promises. We reduced payroll taxes for working Bermudians to their lowest level in history after the former government raised them to the highest level in history. We reduced red tape and eliminated taxes for startup companies, creating jobs for Bermudians. We invested in public education by increasing education and training funding by over $15 million. This enabled us to increase technology in our schools, better support our teachers and education support staff, and enabled over 800 Bermudians to attend the Bermuda College, earning degrees and certifications that have allowed them to take their place in Bermuda's workforce. We hear a lot about the economy before the pandemic. Well, I am happy to talk about it because this government reduced the Bermudian unemployment rate from 8.2% under the OVA to 4.4% in 2019, before the pandemic. In 2019, before the pandemic, there were 650 more jobs in Bermuda than there were in 2017. That is an economic record of progress. And during the pandemic, we dramatically expanded unemployment benefits and allowed Bermudians to access emergency funding to see them through. What is most important is that we trusted our Bermudian scientists, and though many said for us not to reopen our tourism industry, we implemented the strictest testing regime, which has enabled over 1,000 Bermudians to be able to return back to work in hospitality, with the Hamilton Princess Hotel reopening its doors this Friday. We are making progress. We are bringing jobs and investment to Bermuda, and we are on the right track as a country. And I know that the 2 candidates of the PLP team that I'm announcing today will assist our team in continuing that progress in building that better and fairer Bermuda. The first candidate that I'll introduce today is that I'm incredibly excited to introduce Senator Anthony Richardson, our candidate for constituency number 7, Hamilton South. Anthony came incredibly close to winning Hamilton South in the last election. He has been a consistent presence in his constituency, and I know that he'll be out in the community observing health guidelines to finish the job at this time. Senator Richardson.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Premier, PLP family, members and voters of branch number 7, Hamilton South, members of the media, and especially my immediate family and others who would have been here but for COVID-19. I was once asked, what is the purpose of living if you can't help uplift your community? It follows that today, I am pleased to accept the invitation from Bermuda's leader, the Honorable David Burke, the Hamilton South branch, and by extension, the party members of Hamilton South to continue my service to the community as their 2020 general election candidate. I believe that all of my experience today have prepared me for the next step of representing the voters of constituency number 7 in the House of Assembly. There is perhaps a lot to say, but I will limit my comments today and categorize them as leadership, investment, and commitment. Under the strong and steady leadership of David Brett and our PLP team, it has been both a pleasure and a significant learning opportunity to serve with the Fabulous Five, your very effective and capable team of government senators under the more than capable leadership of Senate Leader, the Honorable Kathy Lightbourne Simmons, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs. Our party offers strong leadership in the Senate and in the House. I initially served as a senator from 2017 and then as junior minister since 2019 for the three portfolios of labor, community affairs and sports, home affairs, and education. Whilst there are many highlights, I am appreciative about the discussions and legislation that resulted in Mary Prince Day, changes to the planning process to make it more efficient, the recent passage of the Special Development Order for Riddles Bay that will return significant portions of land for use by everyday Bermudians, and the ability to highlight the successes of the public education system with particular emphasis on the dual enrollment program. I look forward to the reopening of schools for the next few years when COVID-19 protocols will become the norm and continuing the process to phase out middle schools. I also reflect positively on my role as the initial chair of the Revitalized Cost of Living Commission. In that role, I was able to work directly with one of the larger grocery store chains on the introduction of consistently lower prices on selected everyday items. We still have more work to do when it comes to reducing prices in Bermuda, but we are making progress to increase transparency, combat price fixing, and ultimately reduce the cost of living. My comments about investment are a direct contradiction to my introspective personality, because everything was done with the intention of being quietly helpful. As I said before, what is the purpose of living if you can't help uplift your community? But I accept that voters want to know what their representatives are doing on their behalf. I therefore offer the following. My biggest joy from investing more than $10,000 working with and on behalf of Branch 7 and voters in Hamilton South occurred during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, when commercial flights were suspended. Based on the insistence, I underscore insistence, of the Premier that no Bermudians should be stranded abroad, I was able to assist in my private capacity to return home students by sponsoring the cost of their airfare. In another instance, a student had to urgently return to the US, and I'll never forget the expressions of joy from their guardians after being reunited with their loved ones. In one instance, the grandmother was so excited that now I regularly receive chocolate cookies, lemon tarts, beef pies, chicken pies. Just a call, Anthony, I'm going ready for you, and I go and get them, and it's a joy to do that. We also ensured that the cost of ice for the basic requirement for keeping the COVID samples cool in the East was kept to a minimum by providing hundreds of pounds of ice free of charge to the government. Within constituency number 7, I was able to assist in funding the cost of making the roof of the club watertight and with regular food distributions in a discreet manner, and sponsoring the jet ski rides for the annual Devil's Hill Family Fun Day organized by Barry Gibbons. There is also one additional service that's going to be offered to assist seniors that we'll be announcing very, very shortly. My commitment to Bermuda, the community, and the party is self-evident. I have been professionally qualified as an accountant for almost 30 years. During that time, I served in public roles as Accountant General, Board Chair and Finance Chair of the Bermuda Hospitals Board, CEO of the Bermuda Health Council, and CFO of the Bermuda Land Development Company. For the PLP, I have been a lifetime member since the 1980s when I returned from university and joined Progressive Youth. I fondly remember the special attention afforded to young people by former party leader, Mr. Freddie Wade, and the regular meetings at Mr. Roosevelt Brown's house in Frizzle's Hill. That was one of our regular gatherings. Since that time, I served in various roles within the party, including treasurer, deputy chair, branch chair, and three-time candidate in 2011, 2012, and 2017. I reiterate one of my earlier comments. The idea of self-promotion is contrary to my introspective personality, but I get it. You want to know, what have I done for you lately? My response, I've been working for you with Branch 7 quietly but effectively behind the scenes. What am I asking from the voters in constituency number 7, Hamilton South? Allow me to be part of the effective and dynamic Team PLP. As we move forward and continue to address COVID-19 and rebuilding the economy, I have the training, experience, and commitment to play a valuable part. Please come out and vote. Each vote counts. In 2017, the difference in number 7 was 21 votes. 21. Mathematically, if 12 people had voted differently, I would have been able to serve you even more effectively since 2017 as a member of parliament. So if you voted for me in 2017, please do so again. If you were one of the 12 that could have made the difference, I ask for your support. Register. Turn out to vote at the advanced poll or on election day. In a phrase, we are in it to win it. At the end of the day, this election is about leadership, and it's a choice between who we want to see us through this crisis. The Honorable David Burke or Craig Cannonier. I ask the people of Hamilton South to ask which leaders they want to lead our country through the economic recovery in a way that puts Bermudians first. It's time to go big or go home. I choose to go big, think big, and deliver big results for the people of Hamilton South. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony, and congratulations on being selected again. And I know that you will not only work hard, but I am confident in your victory so you can continue to serve people and so the people of Hamilton South can have effective leadership in the House of Assembly. I'm also incredibly excited to introduce our candidate for constituency number 8, Smith South, Mr. Owen Darrell. He is a former educator with a passion for getting young persons involved in the political process, which was evident by his long service with Youth Parliament. He is someone who works daily as my Chief of Staff to assist me in improving the lives of Bermudians. There are countless Bermudians who have run into challenges, sent emails to premier@gov.bm, and Mr. Darrell has solved their problems and helped to get their issues resolved. He knows how government works, he knows what it takes to get things done, and will be a fierce advocate for the people of Smith South in the House of Assembly. If anyone knows Eldon, they know he brings energy to everything he does. And it is my pleasure to announce him as Progressive Labour Party candidate for constituency number 8, Smith South. Sit down.
Thank you, Mr. Premier. To the party executive, the parliamentary caucus, central committee, and the entire PLP membership base, it is a privilege to be given this opportunity. As someone who has been in public service for more than 20 years, I am grateful for the opportunity to continue my service to my fellow Bermudians and run as a PLP candidate in Smith South, a constituency that essentially represents the greatest hits of my life. As we say in Bermuda, I was born there. Obviously, I was born in King Edward, but I grew up in the neighborhoods of constituency 7 and 8. I attended Harrington Sound Primary School. Harrington Hundreds is my corner shop. My father's shop is on Devil's Hill, and I still live on Napton Hill today. For me, and those other lucky boys, John Smith's Bay is the beach.
Yep.
Devil's Hole Dock is the springboard. Cleveland Cunning is the team. And Spittle Pond is Mother Nature.
Yep.
For us, swimming is not about Horseshoe Bay. Diving is not about Amity House. And of course, Bayless Bay know nothing about cricket. When you're from Smith's Parish, it's about our area, our neighborhood. So if you know, you know. And all of that makes me extremely proud to offer my energy and ability to the people of Smith South, residents of Constituency 8. Prior to getting involved with political service, I was a teacher in the public school system, a calling that I loved for 15 years. If you have empathy and care, teaching is a calling, not a job. There is nothing better than seeing your former students excel. After seeing hundreds, if not thousands, of bright Bermudian students graduate from the education system, I want to continue my service to them and to all students by helping the Progressive Labor Party build a future Bermuda that their promise and dedication deserves. Bermuda used to create a good standard of living for everyone who had a decent education. But the rise of two Bermudas, the recent failure to invest in the public school system, and the renewed focus on racial equality lets us know that there is a lot of work to be done. Work that, quite frankly, the One Bermuda Alliance is not able to address. To the voters of Constituency 8, some of you already know me, my family. My mother was an educator for 36 years, and my father is a self-employed electrical fitter. Other voters will get to know me over the next few weeks. And until that time, I want you to know that my team and I are committed to providing you with effective representation in government. For the past 3 years, I have worked as the Chief of Staff in the Premier's office. In this capacity, I have seen the awesome highs and extreme lows. I have seen what happens when things go well, and I have seen what happens when things fall apart. I want to be part of the PLP team that works to ensure we have many more highs and fewer lows. At the end of the day, this election is about leadership. And I've seen firsthand the leadership of our Premier and the PLP team and what they have provided. I'm proud to have played a small role. As we look at this election, Bermudians have to make a decision about what we want to continue us through. David Burt or Craig Cannonier. For me, the choice is clear. As I wrap up, I would like to thank my family who are supporting me, the Premier for his confidence in me, and the well-wishers who inspire me. If given the chance to represent Constituency 8, I will ensure residents get the government support and services they deserve. Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Darrell. And with that, I would like to open the floor to any questions from members of the media. As understood, to slow the movement of mics, I will take questions first, then Senator Richardson, then Mr. Darrell. Any questions for me? So I pass it.
Today, both of the candidates have made it clear that it's an election between you and Craig Cannonier. Seems to be a little bit of change of a tone from Monday. Are you guys highlighting your leadership skills versus Mr. Cannonier's?
I think in my speech and in what we said is it's about myself and it's also about the team. And so as you see here, we have a team that is capable. We rolled out 2 strong candidates on Monday. We rolled out 2 strong candidates today, and we're going to continue with that process. The Progressive Labor Party is not about one person. It is about all of us working collectively together to advance. But at the end of the day, there is someone who was chosen as the leader of the country, and the choice before voters will certainly be not only which representative they want, because I'm sure that these 2 men will be capable representatives in their constituencies, but ultimately, what team of leadership you want.
Mr. Darrell?
I thought we were doing,
Oh, okay.
yes.
Premier, yesterday, your press team issued a statement, calling for an apology from the One Bermuda Alliance with regard to, the Deputy Opposition Leader Leah Scott's comments, questioning your loyalty to Bermuda based on your Jamaican heritage. Why have you called for an apology?
I'll put it this way. I would say that families should be left out of elections, and the One Bermuda Alliance response to the two strong candidates which we rolled out on Monday shows you where their, I guess I would say, their style of campaigning is. The fact is that there are people in this country that are hurting and struggling, and we need to talk about the future, talk about what we've done, and talk about what it is that we have to accomplish. So we're not going to take the baits, but the fact that the One Bermuda Alliance has left the video up, has not issued an apology, shows where their values lie.
Do you feel like there's any merit to those comments?
Of course I don't think that, but I mean, this is what you will find when persons don't have anything positive to talk about. So they will try to bring families into elections, and that's sad. And that's very sad, I would say, especially on the second full day of an election campaign. Anything more from me before I go to Mr. Richardson?
Good morning. There was a story reported by Sierra Wilson of Bermuda Ria to say that Michael Scott was resigning. And I just wanted to put that to you and if there's any truth in that.
The fact is, the Progressive Labour Party candidate selection process is an internal one, and when we have the announcements to make, they'll be made right here at this fine and wonderful podium.
Okay, so nothing more to say on that?
That's it for me. Senator Richardson. That's what I'm at. This microphone.
Mr. Richardson, what do you think is going to be the difference between you getting 11 more votes or switching 11 people's minds to win that seat this time?
We actually had a branch meeting last night, and the simple answer is energy. I'm very pleased to be announced today, because now we have the entire time between today and the election to get out, to touch base with all the voters, and to do some things directly in the community that we intend to do. As I said in my comments, there is a special announcement to be made in the next couple of days that will directly impact all of the persons that live in number 7. And just waiting for a few things to put in place, and then we'll oversee. So the key thing is to have more energy, get on the doorstep, and to be in touch with all of the voters. And what we've asked is, because of COVID-19 effectively, we're doing a lot of phone banking, and anyone that wants to see me directly, recognizing the social distancing, I'm going to do it and make sure that I see them. So we're going to do those things primarily. And really, to be honest, is to stay in the community. I've been part of the community for a long time now, and to keep on doing what I've been doing for the past several years now. That's the thing.
For you, being able to learn from two legends like Roosevelt Brown and Freddie Wade, what sort of things did you take away from them?
As I said again in my comments, certainly from the former leader, Freddie Wade, there was a time when there were a lot of young people in the party, especially progressive youth, and he always made sure that whatever event was taking place at PLP, that there was time and a slot for a young person to participate. And from that came a question of mentorship. We must always be prepared to mentor younger persons and ensure that there is real time and focus on them. And then for the great Roosevelt Brown, he was just a legend. And as a younger person, right, sometimes it was nice. He wasn't always at our meetings, but when he was there, it's just to sit and listen. And at that stage, he was telling us about how he was able to go, especially throughout Africa, and to develop for them. One of the things he did was translate our system of water catchment into various areas and various villages, and sometimes then to ensure they have water. And as we know, water is one of those primary needs for anybody in order to remain healthy. You have to do those things. And so those are the two key things. And then I take that one myself in terms of making sure that I always make time and encourage young people to do and excel in their own regard. As I said earlier also, one of those things has translated to the dual enrollment program in the public education system. I don't think that there is enough of a focus on that, recognizing that a lot of times through the private system, children will graduate and do their thing. But we don't fully recognize a full value of the dual enrollment system. And what that allows is for children that are appropriately focused to get their high school graduation and their Bermuda college graduation at the same time, and it means that those 2 years at the college are actually free. And thankfully, I was able to identify with some of the young lot and realize that they may be younger, but they excel almost more than others at Bermuda College. And so I encourage again for all of us to recognize that the ability is there, and to work with the young people to focus on that. Bermuda College for those students is free. That's another way by which we're able to effectively reduce the cost of living in Bermuda.
Thank you.
One thing that perhaps made people's ears prick up was the cost of living that you spoke about in your own speech. Could you talk about some of the ideas that you might have to help reduce that in Bermuda?
Yeah, it's a lot of it comes down to actual choice and to relate it to the number 7, right? There's a bulk supply school there, and it is becoming so successful. People recognize that you can get certain goods at a lower price. That's become one of our areas of focus now because persons within and without number 7 come there, especially on Tuesdays, which is their discount day. And so now we're working to figure out how we can better manage the traffic. And so that's an example of where we try to ensure greater competition, because competition actually drives down cost. And thereafter, it's a question of us individually making decisions as to how we're going to spend our money.
And the seat that you're under is it's not traditionally a PLP seat. How do you intend to stand out this time?
As I said earlier, at the last election, the difference was 21 votes. We need 12 to make a difference. We made significant strides in the area during the last election, and we've been continuing to work in the area. So this time around, I am running for the people. I'm going to make sure that they get out and vote. We're going to have a service to ensure that everybody gets out to vote, and that's how we're going to get across the line. We are in it to win.
Mr. Richardson, you said that you were part of the team that brought forth the special development order with regards to Britain's Bay.
Yes.
That action wasn't well received by a large portion of people on the island. Do you feel that that will hinder your campaign efforts?
The beauty of being in the Senate was that when legislation came forward, we had to do our research and understand the background of the legislation. And as part of that process, it was more than interesting to understand that many years ago, public money was used to allow a private person to use land and then disallow Bermudans to participate. And so my comments earlier was the fact that given the special development order and some of the provisions within that, there are large portions of that land that will now be available to what I refer to as everyday Bermudians. And so that is critical. That's what I was referring to earlier in terms of experience. If you prepare me for the House of Assembly, it's to have been through that process many, many times. And so that is the essence of what I was getting at. And so I don't believe there's going to be any hindrance to what I'm doing now in terms of running for the seat number 7 at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Darrell, good afternoon, good morning. Being the Premier's Chief of Staff, you've gotten to know more intimate details than the average MP probably about the inner workings of how the government is going about business. What can you take from that if you're elected to be a great MP?
Thank you for your questions. Being in the Premier's office, I have become more aware on a daily basis of the real issues that are affecting the community. Sometimes when you pick up the newspaper or you listen to a newscast, you only get part of the story. And from being in the Premier's office and being able to engage with individuals, talk to them on a daily basis, and really understand the deeper issues, I understand the hard work that the ministers of the government do. I understand the hard work that the public servants in the Bermuda government do, and I think that experience will serve me well as an MP.
What's one change that you can make in constituency 8 that will be a benefit to the people?
Well, one change I can do right away is getting on the doorstep and being seen in the community. And I think the constituents of constituency 8 will appreciate that. I did engage with some voters in constituency 8 over the weekend, and the first thing out of one young lady's mouth was, "I'm tired of being on the losing team," and I want to change that.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
You spoke a lot about education, which is quite refreshing, and it's an issue that I think affects everyone and everyone is concerned about, and the PLP, one of the main things going forward is the phasing out of middle schools. That's the big issue, but what other priorities do you have in terms of education going forward?
One of the priorities of education is the support of the general public, as well as continued resources being given to education. I was an educator for 15 years, and I will challenge anyone to tell you that students in the public education system are some of the brightest, smartest, and most switched-on students everywhere. I had the opportunity to actually teach Senator Richardson's daughter for a small bit of time at the Barclay Institute. Some of my students who have done very well are here today, and other students are holding top positions in businesses around the country. So I think if the public can support public education, support the teachers that are in public education, I will put my former colleagues up against any teacher around the world. And that's what I would say is needed to really make a difference in education.
And a similar question that I asked Mr. Richardson about the constituency not being traditionally PLP constituency. How can you change that?
As we saw in 2017, under the leadership of the Honorable David Burt, there are no strongholds in Bermuda anymore. I don't have to go much into detail, but there were a few MPs that did get surprises in July of 2017. And you know, I've got my hands on the pulse, I've got my feet on the ground, and I'm willing to get in and listen to the concerns of constituency 8, and hopefully on October 1st I'll be successful.
Mr. Darrell, you mentioned that there were highs and lows in your career so far, working closely with the Premier. How have you grown or changed in the last few years working closely with Premier Burt?
Well, it's like one of my economics teachers back when I was at the Barclay Institute. One of my favorite classes was economics, and one of the first concepts we learned was, you know, the opportunity cost and the cost of the alternative. And sometimes the alternatives of what people are asking for are not pleasant ones. And as my boss, the Premier, says often, sometimes in government, there are tough decisions that need to be made, and both decisions are tough. And again, as I talked earlier about communication and really listening to people and getting, sometimes I would hope that going forward, we would be able to not have two tough decisions to make.
Do you care to share some of your experience working with the leader of the country during a pandemic?
Well, I think they're well documented. I have been at every single press conference with the Premier since the pandemic started. As he discussed in a video that most of you have seen over the weekend, when you have to be in contact with people's families and read their emails about the pain that they've suffered because of the loss of pandemic, it hurts. But also, it's actually been very gratifying to see emails from individuals that you would not expect are supporters of the Progressive Labour Party and supporters of David Burt, sending in lengthy emails thanking the government, thanking the PLP for all they've done to keep them safe. Because it's at that point that you realize that a pandemic is not about the Progressive Labour Party or any other party. It's about the community and residents of Bermuda. So it has been a very interesting, rewarding, and sometimes heartfelt experience.
Thank you, everyone.